it's never a dull moment here. Like
Yeah.
we are always presented with weird, unique challenges and how do we build this? And there is no set formula.
Hi, I'm Russ, and this is the Memory Makers Podcast, the show that helps you create amazing customer experiences and make more memories. And I was trying to think of how to make the Memory Makers fit into the Folgers coffee jingle, and so the closest that I can get is, you're listening to a podcast. It's the Memories Maker Podcast. So, again, one of our traditions, Martin, on the podcast is me doing horrible jingles with our name in it from old, outdated pop culture. So
Mission accomplished.
I appreciate your patience on that one. For those of you who are not a part of the Creative Works team and work within our building, you don't know Martin unless you've seen him on one of our Amusement 360 tours. But Martin Kuntz is joining us. And Martin, you've been with C-Dub now for 11, 12 years?
This is my 15th year.
15th. Look at me trying to undersell the crap out of it. Holy crap. Okay, so you've had a lot of different hats, and when you started, I think Creative Works, we were around, 20-ish or so people, 25?
I don't even know if it was that much. It might have been like 12.
Yeah.
It was small.
Yeah.
For sure.
And when we were in the old building, and so where we are now, and how we've seen all of that grow from, hey, we're just really doing laser tag and the occasional mini golf to now escape rooms and virtual reality and all of the, different things and how the business has changed so much. Do you mind giving us a quick run through on some of the first positions? Because you wore a lot of hats even at the beginning of kind of doing muralist work and sculpting and all of these things. So do you mind walking us through how did you come across Creative Works in the first place and what were you doing before it?
This will date it pretty well. I saw an ad on Craigslist.
Nice.
So came in for an interview. I had been working for a company that did Broadway stage and set design, and then I also worked for a company that built parade floats. So kind of similar backgrounds. But I started off in our paint department. Everybody back then kind of had to wear multiple hats. You just kind of had to help out where you could. Started off in our paint department, would help out in foam and wood whenever needed. Went on the road quite a bit. I was the third muralist, like the third painter. I was on the road quite a bit, and yeah.
And then as we were growing, one of the things then now that what you're doing is working with design and engineering and the production teams to kind of make sure that, hey, what are we designing on paper? How does that need to translate from an artistic finish standpoint, and applying some of that tribal knowledge that you've accrued over the years and some of those hacks. And one of the things that I wanted to bring you on for, and we can use this as kind of our main vehicle to focus on, was we recently just updated the Mayday escape room experience. And so I was really curious to pick your brain on what goes into that process, and whether it's, hey, we're working with something from scratch, or we're working with a known thing like the Mayday escape room and giving it a totally new look, and it had some new puzzles and it had new components, but you working with the finishing team to make sure that it had this really intentional look that went with it. So when you started on that process, do you mind walking us through like you and who else were taking the initial point on, hey, this is how we want to kind of start to tackle this, and then what your process looks like and kind of evolving that into a finished product?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's a big collaborative effort. So there are a lot of people working on it. When it came to me, our engineers had already built the room essentially as far as the props were concerned. So I took that into Adobe Substance and then basically just kind of like colored everything and gave it the finish that we wanted to see. And then there was a lot of demos that I would do and like very specific, like, hey, we want the rust to look like this, and the wear should be where the wear normally like would actually occur on a panel or something,
Yeah, not going ham on like crazy over the top patina on everything. Like have it look a little weathered, but not like it's falling apart.
Right, because it's supposed to be a functional submarine. It's not like at the bottom of the ocean. And our paint team is great, but they love to do weathering. And we had to like, hey, less is more in this case. We're looking at like a 90-10 kind of, you know what I mean? So, being really intentional and trying to create that environment that felt like authentic and kind of real. I I'm very proud of the work we did. I think it's probably one of the better ones that we've done as far as really feeling immersive. It's like something as simple as the curved walls really kind of brings you into that environment. So
well, and that's what jumped out at me when we had it stood up and we were doing some play testing and putting it through its paces in the shop. One, having the like you mentioned, that curved look, so you do feel it kind of, okay, we are in an actual like a submerged vessel.
Yeah.
But then you guys also started to blend, hey, it's not just paintwork, but there are also finished printed graphics that are in there. There's multimedia screens that are doing it. And getting those three different things to aesthetically match, be in the same color palettes, but then, like, I mean, laws of physics get to have their say. So how something reflects off of paint versus a printed vinyl graphic versus the screen, like, you guys did an amazing job getting all of that to play nicely. Like,
thank you.
Is there a lot of fine tuning where it's, oh, okay, yeah, like, for you artistic nerds out there, like, okay, this CMYK color is what we're kind of going off of, but we need to adjust it up or down a little bit depending on what physical medium it's actually going on.
Yeah, definitely to an extent. I think a lot of those changes happen once you physically get it together.
Yeah.
And you can see it kind of assembled and in the space and make adjustments based off that. I mean, we've done enough that we have a pretty good idea of like how things should work, but
trust but verify is always a good approach when it comes to that, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of disparate elements, and the graphics on the side, it's not always easy to integrate those and have them not stand out and look kind of out of place.
Yeah.
But I think they kind of set back enough and aren't like glaringly, I don't know.
No, I think you guys threaded that needle so well. And especially, I think some of it's too of just how are we designing that artwork from the get-go, knowing, okay, it's going in this medium or it's printed versus painted and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, it definitely helps, being intentional of where you're going to pick those spots too. Cause like the printed graphics, when you have those framed out a little bit and you can use some thematic cheating, or not cheating, but transitions almost to kind of bridge that gap a little bit too. Man, I was just thrilled with how that looked and came out. And, when we're looking at any of these attractions, and whether it's in escape rooms and trying to do some of those things, like what are some of the, when you get dropped hey, this is a new theme or type of direction that we want to do, what does that creative process look like for you to pull inspiration from? Is it a lot of, hey, we want to throw some things into Chat GPT and see what it can kind of come up with some renderings? Are you looking at real world examples? Like, what are some of those favorite go-to spots that you can look for just some visual? And sometimes is it helpful just to find things that you don't like so to avoid that with a passion?
Yeah, it's a combination of all that. I think knowing what you're trying to avoid is really important, because we definitely didn't want it to be like overly weathered, overly rusty and whatnot. You definitely, a rusty submarine is indicative of moisture, which is bad. But looking at a lot of reference images of submarines and control panels and industrial kind of things that you're trying to mimic is really good for us. It's really nice to have the software and the technology to where I can make all these decisions and change them very, very easily if we need to. So tweaks are much easier made in the software than, on the shop floor. So, but yeah, we do a lot of just Google image searching and making folders and there are a lot of meetings and collaborative discussions, even down to like lighting effects and how we want the feel. Is it going to be really dark in there? Is it going to be bright? Those all sort of affect your decision making, because like Mayday kind of dark, and there are some lighting changes within the course of the gameplay, but knowing that it was kind of dark, we wanted the graphics to kind of sit back a little bit and not be like too prevalent and in your face. So yeah.
I love that. When you think through your 15 years, and again, my apologies for taking some points off your merit badge.
Quite all right.
When you think through all of these different products or even projects that you've gotten to work with, obviously, whenever I ask you this on a 360 tour, when I'm like, what's your favorite project you got to work on? It's the same answer. So do you mind telling us a little bit about that one? And then we can get into some other ones maybe that were from like maybe a favorite mural set or things. But let's start with your favorite overall project that you got to work on.
I am a big football fan.
Yeah.
I'm a big Colts fan. I have been since I was little kid, we got asked to collaborate with Ryan Feeney and I feel terrible. I'm blanking on the name of the bronze casting company that was the other collaborator, but we worked on the Peyton Manning statue for outside Lucas Oil Stadium. So Mondo and I did get to fly on Jim Irsay's private jet to go meet Peyton Manning at he flew on his private jet, of course, because normal everyday things.
Sure.
But yeah, we gotta go meet Peyton, do a photo shoot. I ended up doing a digital sculpt, which was really good for us because it was a collaborative effort with the Colts as well, but they were very specific of like the mechanics of his throwing. They're like, he needs to be planting off his back foot more and his arm should be tweaked slightly.
Right.
So we were able to make all of those changes digitally before we turned them into cut files, which we ran on our CNC, assembled them out of foam, hard coated them, and then, we got it pretty close to what you see outside Lucas Oil, and then we handed it off to Ryan Feeney. He did, he added clay to everything to get the very fine details and finish it off, and then it went to the bronze casters, who then chopped it up and then cast it in pieces and then reassembled it. So it was a very big collaborative effort, but pretty cool.
So one, it definitely, I love it just from the fact of, oh my gosh, it's so neat and it's right in our backyard. Like what a cool experience. But, and to your point of, okay, well, where is he at this portion of the throw? How does he shift his body weight? There's plenty of things to do with that. But I imagine even once that comes off of the CNC where it's done some of the main material removal stuff and you're then assembling those pieces and then doing even more detailing work with it, what are things that when you are taking the model and turning it into a physical piece, and doing some of that fine tuning, because there's like ripples in the jersey or there's, how the numbers stand off slightly from the jersey. So that way you don't lose that definition and that visual texture stays true as it's going to get clay added to it and hard coat added to it and bronze added to it and everything else. What are some of the more is that human body one of the more difficult things to keep proportionally correct because there's not as much artistic license when you're trying to do that type of a finished piece versus something that has maybe a little bit more flexibility of it's a space alien, so it doesn't matter if its arm's a little thinner or a little thicker. What are some of those pieces when you're doing a true statue bound kind of piece like that?
Yeah, proportionately, everything was kind of already determined once it comes off the CNC. As long as we glued it up together correctly, those proportions should stay pretty much the same. But the CNCs are limited in the sense that it's a bit and it can't do undercuts. So if you have a hand, it's all the fingers are gonna go down to the bed of the CNC, and you still have to do a lot of hand carving. So. It's great technology, but there is still a lot of work involved in it. That was an interesting one because we were handing it off. So there was a lot of collaboration between Ryan and myself of how far do I need to get this for you? Foam has limitations in how much detail you can really get. And knowing that it would be hard coat kind of tends to soften things. But as far as immense pressure of the guy is pretty much like a saint in Indianapolis. So I definitely felt a lot of weight of we got to get this thing right. Otherwise we will be hearing about it for all eternity.
Well, especially when not too many years ago when there were some NBA players that got some bronze statues, I think Dwight Howard's and others where it's didn't necessarily turn out as well.
Cristiano Ronaldo's face was pretty bad.
And it's because no. It's not a reflection on the artist. It's a reflection on just how difficult that material is to do and have it actually translate to what that finished thing is. Shifting gears a little bit, one of the projects that I remember that you just absolutely crushed, and you tell me if there's another one, but there was a project that we did down in Tennessee where the client had come to us and they wanted the laser tag arena to look like the downtown kind of aesthetic of the small shops and the different storefronts and all of that. And I believe it was City Forum down in Tennessee. Definitely something that was a little bit different and challenging because you're pulling in, again, true landmarks and recognizable components. but then also like, hey, it's not this broad sweeping landscape that you have to do. And like now we're having to put in a ton of detail into each of these storefronts. And so that was one that always stood out for me as like, holy crap, Martin just absolutely crushed this, and such a cool finished product where nobody else has anything like that because it's so tailored to their market.
Yeah.
What are some of those favorite projects in your early days when you were out there doing more of the mural work and other things that was a really cool experience?
I mean, we've got our standard bread and butter themes, but clients always come to us with crazy ideas that never would have occurred to me. We did a job in El Salvador where the client wanted bees versus wasps, which was very strange, but there was like a lot of honeycombs, and that one was just very unique and kind of odd. I mean, I love doing anything like space related. We've done a lot of obviously like military kind of themes and stuff like that. So in my own personal work, I really enjoy painting fighter jets. So anytime I get to paint a fighter jet and like explosions and bombs and missiles shooting across is always a good time. So I can't think of anything like too specifically weird that.
I mean, bees versus wasps is a pretty specific. Yeah.
We've done, and then, I mean, equally weird props. We did the Oinks ice cream pig bench. It was a giant pig with ice cream. It was, look it up. It's weird.
It's really neat. So for those that maybe haven't seen pictures of it on the website or some of our social media, like ice cream shop up in Michigan, where it's one of those small towns like Great Lakes kind of tourist area and everything that happens in the spring and the summer. And they had this pig with ice cream sundae scoops on its back, and that was their logo. And they're like, we want this to be a bench. And we're like, how on earth do we make, let's start to figure that out. And then slowly but surely it all came together. It's still like one of my favorite things that we've done. One, because it was different, but two, it's just very like whimsical.
Yeah, it's super quirky. It's never a dull moment here. Like we are always presented with weird, unique challenges and how do we build this? And there is no set formula for what we do. A lot of the stuff that we build, we have to use like multiple softwares and try and, make things kind of work for our unique industry. But it's I don't know. It's a lot of fun. It's always challenging.
So you also have done a number of different kind of, remind me, was it for the 500? You did a submission for like the Indy 500 festival, like a mural, or was that for one of the things? Like you've done some commissioned mural work and stuff for the city and things as well. What does that, what are some of do you still do a lot of that kind of commissioned work in your off hours? Maybe not as much with the fam growing and everything like that.
I do when I can. I try and kind of pick and choose. I did something last year I think it was last February, whenever the All-Star game, I think it was 25. There were, I think, 25 basketballs that were placed around the city that all had to do with Indiana's very rich basketball history. So I was selected to paint one of those. The 500, every year I don't know how many artists they select, but they do a welcome race fans campaign. So I was selected for that one for the year of COVID when there were no fans in the stands. So that was interesting, but I've done that. I've done some work for NCAA March Madness. I try and take on projects when I can.
Do you find, I mean, even when you were doing more freelance stuff or things like that, like, are there tips or tools or now is that stuff like, hey, this is just like pushed out on social media, and so anybody who's interested can like submit for that stuff? But any advice that you would have for an artist who's looking to get into more of that type of work in any of their local cities? Like, do you knock on doors with the Chamber of Commerce and say, hey, we should do some art stuff? Like, do you have to kind of manifest some of that at times, or do you just keep an eye out on your Google alerts for cool opportunities that come up?
I mean, certainly some of it's manifesting. Some of the things that I've done have been, I've just known some people and it worked out that way. We're very fortunate in Indianapolis. We've got a really, really good arts council. They are a great resource. If you're in Indianapolis, they do post pretty much anything that's going to be a call for artists, muralists, designers, whatever. So that's a really great resource. NYFA, New York Foundation for the Arts, is like a more national database for calls for artists and any opportunities and stuff like that. So I keep an eye out, but yeah, I've got 2 kids. So
Yeah.
it's I don't have a ton of free time. So yeah.
Yeah, it's because how old are your little ones? It's 4 and
Zoe will be 6 in July, so
Yeah.
4 and almost 6. So
yeah. I mean, Rinker's 5, so I can't even imagine you having 2 right in that same time frame. Like it is, it is a lot of duck dip, dive, duck dip, and dodge.
Yeah, I wish I had gotten more sleep last night, knowing I was going to do this today. So yeah.
Oh, we appreciate you for that, and and thank you for the insights on that. I mean, I always say like we're ridiculously lucky to get to do what we do, and just the sheer randomness that comes through, and then sometimes we get to work on these crazy IPs, but just as much when somebody's like, well, we want this, Sasquatch themed whatever, or we want an ice cream pig bench, like there's just so many cool things that we get to do and that leave an impression and make an impact. So thank you for your work on that.
Of course,
and just for those of you, if you ever want to feel super self-conscious about your stick figure drawing abilities, just check out some of Martin's work and he'll knock your socks off for sure.
MartinKuntz.com.
There you go.
Shameless self-plug.
There we go. We'll drop that in the notes in the description as well, so you guys can check them out. But with that, we're at a really good stopping point here. But thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Martin, for sharing some of your insights and expertise. And if you guys have any ideas that you want for upcoming episodes, feel free to hit us up on social media, send us a direct message, and we'll be sure to add that into the mix. If you liked what you heard, please don't hesitate to give us that 5-star review if we've earned it. And again, thank you all for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next one. Oh, big shout out to Mikey Mike on the 1s and 2s, working the Ultranet with our new 2-camera setup at a baby Mike, making all of that go with the 2-camera switch. So thank you all very much, and we'll catch you on the next one, troublemakers.